Hey everybody, we are back to the show. I am one of your two co-hosts. I'm Mesh, and with me is the Hobby Mommy.
Hey, hey, hey.
And today, a lot of heavy stuff that we're gonna get to. But of course, we got the news, and then we're gonna talk a little season one of The Boys because this week, when you're listening to this, it'll be 2 days until we release, or they release. We aren't releasing anything, but Amazon's gonna be releasing season two of The Boys. So we are pretty stoked about that, and we're gonna do a quick recap of season one. So to start off, in light of recent events, I'm going with a Black is Beautiful Cocoa Fluff Stout from Common Law Brewing. Brad, if you ever listen to us on Hops News, he is one of our friends. I can say we're friends now. We're all pretty good friends, but yeah, we're drinking the Black is Beautiful Stout edition, which is cocoa fluff. It's got marshmallow, it's got cocoa nibs, things like that. 7.5% stout and pretty sweet, but not too overbearing. As some stouts, anytime you drink them, the problem is they go too heavy on the flavor, and so more often than not, you get a really sweet stout. Whereas this one just comes in about just right to me. It's not too sweet, but it's just sweet enough to hit that sweet tooth I have. So what do you think?
I think you nailed it on the head. It's not overwhelming at all as far as sweetness, but it's light. It's very light for a stout.
It is. I noticed that there's something. So you get a little bit of the cocoa and the marshmallow, but I feel like there's something else in it. And I know Brad's probably told me 80 times, so I'm sorry, Brad, but it feels like there's something else in it that I can't quite pin down what it is, but it's pretty good on the aftertaste.
hmm And all these beers all smell just so damn good. Oh,
They
sometimes I feel
do. I
like I
gotta say,
enjoy the smell as much as the taste.
that's kind of how I was yesterday. So I drank a raspberry cheesecake sour from Southern Grist last night. We watched Bill and Ted and Face the Music, the new one. If you haven't watched Bill and Ted Face the Music, Keanu Reeves is back, Alex Winter's back, and it's a really good movie. It's something you can just turn your brain off of. And the overall message, as I won't spoil it, but like that's kind of what we need right now in 2020 with so much crap happening. And I was drinking this, and I wanted to just like bury my face in the glass because I loved the smell more than the beer. Not to say I didn't love the beer, but the smell of it is literally a cheesecake in a glass. And
Mm.
cheesecake's my favorite dessert. I don't actually like real cake. But I love cheesecake, and that's what that tastes like. So I'm just over here huffing the glass, like telling my wife, "Hey, Carrie, come here, let's smell this." And she's like, "God, I don't want to keep smelling this." But I'm like, it smells so good. And but you're right. That's kind of how I've been. Is I just want to smell these delicious beers more than actually drink them. It's almost a crime to drink them, I feel like.
Yeah, no, this is good. I would love this over some bourbon or aged in bourbon barrels. I love bourbon barreled anything.
Ooh,
But yeah, no, this is good
I
and
do
it's so
too.
smooth. Very smooth.
And that glass you have too is excellent. Man, I've been trying to get my
I
hands on one of
know.
those, but I always keep missing out.
Yeah, I know. They go really fast. But so yeah, we found out last night about Black Panther and I did not expect celebrity lives don't usually bother me. They don't usually affect me, but damn, that was just a shock. Total shock.
It it was.
Huge loss, I think, in
Honestly,
more
I thought
than
it was one
just
of
the
those
MCU.
hoaxes.
He what?
You know, I thought it was one of those hoaxes, that you always see going
Oh,
around, like
yeah.
celebrity death hoax. And so my friend texted me. I was like, there's no freaking way. It's the same like when Kobe died. Kobe was one of my favorite basketball players growing up, and so that hit me pretty deep because it felt like my childhood. And then I don't really care much about celebrities dying. Yes, it is sad, but at the end of the day, it's like I never met this person. Oh, that
Right.
sucks. I won't see their movies. They made a lot of good movies, and it sucks you won't see them again. However, like you were saying, it's like Chadwick Boseman. It seems like he just took off in acting. He's been around a bit, but with the Black Panther movie, he was in Civil War, both Avengers, where he played a pretty good role. He was in that movie 21 Bridges, which I haven't seen yet. And
hmm
then he played Jackie Robinson in 42, which
Yeah.
was a really good movie. And that's kind of where I first noticed him because he was amazing in that movie. And it was Jackie Robinson Day yesterday.
Yeah, and Jack Kirby's birthday, and he's one of the guys that drew him. So,
Yes.
yeah, hell of a day to die. But he was one of the MCU characters that was introduced, after we were very familiar with this universe. So he was somebody we expected to kind of transition us into the next phase of Marvel because we're losing so many of the familiar faces.
Hmm.
And I don't want them to replace him. I just feel like it would not be right in more ways than one. So I don't. I would. I heard they were still working on the script for Black Panther 2, that they had not started filming. But I mean, if anybody's going to take that mantle, I think it should be Shuri. I don't see any other way to just do it. I guess respectfully and the way that the audience would want to see it. Because I don't think anybody would want to see him be replaced. He was Black Panther.
Yeah, I agree. And when he came on the scene, and I didn't know much about Black Panther until he came in Civil War. I was like, oh, actually, I really like his character. He was really well spoken. His message in the movie was really great, and you see this like powerful. He's a king. He's not a king yet, but he's stepping into that role.
The
And
prince.
I know for us, to get kind of into the racial aspect of it, for us, we've had Captain America, we've had Batman, all these characters, and I have a lot of friends, some of whom like my kids call uncle, that are like, this is great, this is amazing. If we have somebody that's important to us, and I'm not going to pretend to speak or know where they're coming from because I can't, but he connected that to the people of color. He really brought like, oh my God, the little child could be like, I can be a hero, because we were
Right.
growing up like Superman, this, that, and it's like, oh my God, it's like seeing Wonder Woman. It's like a little girl's, I can be this hero, and that's kind of when he brought to the role, and he killed it in everything. And then whenever he comes out of the portals in Endgame, I will always get chills. They start yelling, in Bombay, and I'm
Yeah,
I'm
you
sitting there
hear
like
that
hyped up on my
first.
couch. I'm like, hell, let's go.
Right. You hear
And
the on your
then they
left
all
and then
come out.
one
So you're right.
Bombay.
Yeah, and there's no way you can replace him because he is the Black Panther. And so I would agree with you. I almost wonder, because they kind of were working on this script, but not really working on it. Obviously, nobody outside
Right. Did they
of the
know?
the public, we didn't know that.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that they did know to an extent, and really good on everybody who did know for
Hmm.
not putting his public stuff out there. And that's probably the most amazing part of it, is that's something that like he fought through, he battled through. This man got in really good shape to play Black Panther
It must have
while
been
he was undergoing
exhausting.
treatments. Right.
Yeah.
And so just the thing, and that's what makes him kind of a real life superhero, is he just put that smile on. He went out there, saw children who were battling with cancers as well, knowing what he was going through, and the
Yeah.
press tours, knowing how tired he was. I can't even imagine. So
Right.
it's one of those that really kind of hits you. It's wow,
Right.
this is, it doesn't feel real. Just like, you know, I don't know.
Well, and last night, my husband will put on MCU movies, kind of like somebody would put on music. Like he'll put on a movie while we're just doing random things. So he had put on Black Panther yesterday. And so I'm sitting here washing dishes while it's on, and they all had gone out back. And I'm watching this movie just thinking, like, it's not, it's also a very kick ass girl movie as well. It's like he surrounds himself with these strong women. You got Shuri, you got Okoye, you got Nakia, and it's like, those are his go-to people, and they're all just such badasses. And I'm just watching the scene where I always want to call her Michonne, but where she throws the spear
I
out
do
of the
too.
car,
That's, I
and
can't remember her
yeah,
actual.
it's a Koei. I might be butchering it a bit, but it's like okay, but everybody knows who
Mhm.
I'm talking about when I say Michonne. But she throws the spear out there, and like she just jumps on the top of the car, and it's just such a badass scene. And one of the things I was talking to my daughter a few months ago with Iron Man, it's like I feel like we really missed out on a scene between Shuri and Iron Man. Like we deserved that scene. Like how she
Yeah.
called out Hulk a little, like why didn't you just do this with Vision? And he's like, well, we didn't think about that. Okay, that was funny and whatnot, but like to see her have called out Iron Man, that would have been a blow to his ego as well. Like I would have loved to have seen that scene
Hmm.
and just had them be like, "Oh, this little girl is like totally showing me up." So I feel like that movie just it's one of those movies that the more you watch it, the more you really enjoy it. And it's one of my husband's favorite because he says it goes right to the action. But I feel like it doesn't just
It
go right
does.
to the action because it also just has so much story in it too and ties so much of the MCU together. Like little, you got Martin Freeman in there and you got the
Hmm.
other dude whose name I never remember who lost an arm in Ultron. And
Oh, yes,
it's
yes.
just,
Oh my gosh, Andy Serkis. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden. I don't know why. I know his name.
Hell, I had it on yesterday, and then my husband put it on
Oh
again
my
today, and I don't
gosh.
remember his name.
This is embarrassing.
But we know who it is. But I'm
Yes.
terrible with names, even for real people, not just fake people. But yeah, it's just a kick-ass movie, and And yeah, he was great in all of the movies, and it sucks. We did not expect to talk about this tonight. Definitely not, but it had to be said, and I was shocked, and I contemplated even posting something. I'm like, do I not post something? Is that disrespectful to post something when I don't actually know
Yeah.
this guy? But seeing my Facebook and my Instagram feed full of Black Panther, I thought it was very sweet to see that this affected a lot of people. I mean, even Barack Obama posted about it.
Yeah, he posted about when he came to the White House. You see, like, it is impressive, and of course, you always see like an actor. Of course, they're always going to touch somebody in some sort of way, right? But I feel like with him, it was something that was just different because of
Yeah.
the things he was going through, the work he was doing, and then like we talked about. I mean, he was a superhero both on screen and then off screen. I want to say so. You're right. You never fully expect to talk about it, but at the same time, it's like to honor what he's done. It's incredible, and I'm trying to look up the name right now for Andy Serkis because I really hate. It starts with a K. I don't know why I'm forgetting. But while I look this up, I really, really hope we still get. It's Ulysses's Claw. Jeez,
Yes, 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 yes.
Ulysses. Jeez, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry, everybody listening, but yeah,
Who's yelling at
I
us
hope we get
saying what his name is?
Shuri taking over because she could be kind of that Iron Man type, and we didn't get any scenes with them like you were saying. So I do wish we could have gotten some scenes between Tony Stark and her because she's incredibly smart. She's
Yeah,
wicked smart, as I would say.
it's
But
mad.
yeah,
And
and
when she takes over for Black Panther in one of the comic stories where he's still injured or
shit.
for something, so she kind of, so I felt like that would be in line with the comics and at the same time respectful to Chadwick Boseman and the
Hmm.
character he portrayed on screen. Um,
Agreed.
but we'll
I
see what
I
they
think
do. Who knows?
the big thing too to me is it's so funny. Ever since my son watched Black Panther, all he had been talking about is getting a Black Panther suit. I want a Black Panther suit. I'm Black Panther. And now this man, we got him a Black Panther suit, and that's all he's been wearing for like the last
Stop.
few weeks is Black Panther suit. So it is he doesn't know. I mean, if, to
Mhm.
us, that also kind of is why it made it more sad. Is like, oh my God, this is like my son's favorite superhero right now, anyways. And the actor who played him kind of passed away. It's like, oh my. But of course, Black Panther's always going to live on through comic books, through animated
Mhm.
movies, and that's the best thing to do. So like when you say we think about posting, I think it's good to post because it shows just for this case, how much he touched us and touched anybody all around and what he meant to children. So
Yeah. Well,
on
it's like
to
Robin
on to
Williams.
less heavy
Yeah.
things.
I
If we
was gonna say my kids still, they watch
Yeah.
Aladdin and we talk about Robin Williams. But yes, so on that note, well, I'll do a segue into because my breaking news was all about Marvel because we had a lot of DC last week. So Black Widow is
Did.
now set to release on November 6th, which was the original release date for the Eternals, which apparently is now called Eternals, not the Eternals. So these
Did you see that James Gunn? Somebody was like, Marvel gave James Gunn the for the Suicide Squad, and he was like, "Yeah, they let me borrow the word the for that." It was a real tongue in cheek kind of thing, but I thought it was just funny.
nice. But yeah, so the Eternals, I'm sorry, is supposed to release now on February 12th. Because it sounded like they actually wrapped up filming for that last February, but they never did any post production because of Corona. So who knows if these dates will stick, but that is what is supposed to be happening right now. There's still no dates for Disney Plus shows. It still says that Falcon and Winter Soldier will be fall 2020. Who knows? And Wanda and Vision still says 2020. So we'll see on that. But that's as
I hope
accurate
not.
Marvel release dates as they're putting out now. So
It sucks because we're all getting antsy at this point. Like, New Mutants came out, and I know some people went. I don't know anybody personally who went and saw it, but people did apparently go see it, and you can tell that they really cut up. This was kind of one of those like sit on the murder board floors for a few years kind of deals because there were some elements of the old stuff in there, some elements of what they were missing, and apparently the movie's okay, but it's not anything you can just. It's kind of one of those that's going to come and go, and so we're really dying to get the Falcon, the Winter Soldier,
mm,
WandaVision, and Black Widow, in addition to any other movies, because I miss going to the movies. So that kind of leads me to this bit of news: is Mulan, as we all know, is actually going to be released, for $29.99 on Disney Plus. If you buy it, you can own it, watch it, whatever. However, Disney also just said that December 4th, they're actually just going to release it on Disney Plus, period. So I wonder if that's going to hurt them as far as like, is it going to be an accurate representation of are people willing to pay $30 for a movie,
I mean,
or is it,
I know a lot of people that just dropped 20 for Bill and Ted. I mean,
that's
and this is
true.
a
It's
live
worth it
action
though.
Disney movie, so I expect a lot of people to do it. I mean, I don't think it would compare to being released in the theaters, but
No,
we'll see.
unless you're rich and have a movie theater in your own house, in which case it doesn't matter anyways.
If you have a movie theater in your own house, I feel like
That's
those
my
people got to
dream.
be. Well, I always felt like people like that. Then you got your own bowling alley. It's like, are you just completely antisocial, or are you always hosting people? Like, don't you
No,
want to
you
go
always host
out?
people over.
Oh, okay.
Well, see, they actually were ahead of the curve. They knew Corona was eventually going to happen, so they just set up their house to be
Ah,
prepared. But that
and
is
we
the
called
dream.
them
I'd love to have
crazy
a movie theater
before.
in my house. Yeah, the doomsday preppers, and now they're the ones laughing at us.
Ugh, they hoarded all the toilet paper years ago. That was actually in Supernatural. God last season or last year told them you should hoard toilet paper like it's gold. Hoard it. It's an actual
God, and then
scene.
here we are. Look, God told us, and we didn't listen. And then we had Karen running down the aisle of Costco with 60 rolls of toilet paper, and that we couldn't find any. And jeez, what do you mean you got to use 2-ply?
It was funny. There's a brewery around here that always has like extra rolls of toilet paper, like in a nice little basket. And we were there
Mhm.
like right before the world shut down, right when everybody was buying toilet paper. And I went in the bathroom and I noticed they had no toilet paper in there. I'm like, I wonder if somebody took it all or if they took it out before somebody could take it all.
It was so bad at work that you had like some of the young guys who live in like the dorms, they didn't go buy toilet paper. And then all of a sudden they're like, 18-year-old kids. They just moved on their own for the first time. And so they're out of toilet paper. And they come to work just to go to the bathroom or steal toilet paper. I'm like, you guys are something else, man. Oh my God.
That's terrible. All right, well, let's stop talking about toilet paper. All right, so The Boys. So The Boys comes out. It should come out the 2 days after we air this. And like you had said before, they're releasing what, 3 episodes and then one a week.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
and
what. And then it's gonna end like October 8th. It's like the final episode or something like that. So there's only 8 or 9 episodes in the whole season.
so we basically got a month of The Boys. Um,
Yes.
and I heard Aisha Tyler is actually going to be doing an after show with the cast and crew.
Oh, really?
So that'll be fun. I feel like Walking Dead kind of like set the tone, like Talking
They
Dead. So
definitely did. Yeah.
yeah, I mean they even do that with Shark Week now, and you had it with Talking Bad. They did a little bit of that. So I always think that's cool because then they show deleted scenes and behind the scenes and stuff for the following week. So
That
that'll be
and you
cool.
get to see who the actors like, the guy who plays oh my God, I am awful with names tonight.
We should tell people
But
this is Saturday night that we're doing this.
oh my God, I take 3 sips of beer, work a few hours, and all of a sudden I can't remember jack shit tonight. But
All right.
yeah, evil Superman there, the guy who plays him, he's
Oh,
like super nice in real
Homelander.
life and all that, but he Homelander, oh my God, I sincerely apologize. I have no idea what's going on right now. But yeah, Homelander, he's like this super chill dude, but in the show he plays like this evil guy, and it's like, oh my God. And then just to hear him talk in real life is so different. So I'm in the market for just listening to people talk, but that's why we're
Yeah.
doing podcasts.
Well, and I have to say, so I did not watch or did not read all the comics. I only read volume one, and then I read a couple of them. They actually just started doing a new The Boys that's still connected, but it's so different than the show, so different. And one of the things that I think is kind of cool is so Huey, the main guy whose girlfriend dies 5 seconds into the show, in the comic he looks very, very different. And for anybody watching on YouTube, you can see the guy he kind of looks like Simon Pegg. So apparently that was
Yeah,
intentional.
oh, that's right.
So that was that was intentional. Simon Pegg found out, was excited about it because he's into comics, and he actually plays Huey's dad on the TV show. So I thought that was kind of cool. They came full circle. But just to do a
Oh.
little bit of comparison from the comic to the show without spoiling anything for anybody who wants to read the comic. If you're listening to this and you haven't watched the show, I don't know, you should go watch the show. Pause this, go watch the show, and then come back. So it's very, very different. The comic is actually, believe it or not, more graphic than the TV show. A lot of sex in the comic, which I did not expect. When
I
you're
had
reading a
heard that.
comic and you turn the page, oh my goodness. And
I had heard that, and I have never read the comic myself, but I had heard that the writer's very much into that kind of stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, if it's a part of the story, cool,
yeah,
but if it gets to a point where it detracts from it, I'm kind of like, eh.
I don't think it detracts from it once you're like, oh, okay, I didn't expect to turn the page and see this. But then they're kind of doing it to further, I think, show how uh, nasty these soups can be, because it's not just like,
Yeah,
oh, that's nice, they have a consensual, healthy sex life. No, it's extreme. But they also don't
far
really
different.
focus on the seven right away. Like in the show, they're right away like, oh, we have to attack the seven. So they're focused a lot on like there's teen soups, because they call them soups,
Hmm.
not superheroes, and
Right.
they're also funded by the CIA in the comic, whereas in the TV show they're just like vigilantes,
So
I
wait,
guess.
those Huey and all them are funded by the CIA in the comic book?
Yes, and
Oh,
so
I had no idea.
in the first episode of the TV show, he shows Huey that he's an FBI agent, and he's like, "Oh, you're a Fed," and then he finds out he's not. And so I think that was a nod to it. And another quick nod from the first episode. So Huey looks in the back seat of oh, now I'm blanking on the main guy's name. Awesome. Son of a bitch.
Butcher.
Butcher. Yes. So Huey looks in the
I
back
got
seat
that
of
one.
Butcher's car, and there's a dog toy, and he's like, "You have a dog?" And Butcher's like, "No." Well, in the comic, he's got a dog with him all the time called Terror. It's a bulldog named Terror. But in the comics too, they're like traveling because they have access to private jets and all this stuff because they're in the CIA. And Huey is
Yeah.
not American. Um, so so those are the main differences without ruining anything that I have found in the beginning. Oh, and everybody has like superpowers in the comic. Even Butcher and stuff, they all take Compound V, and it's not like
Oh, really?
a secret thing. Yeah. So it's very, very different. Still follows some of the stuff, the same main characters and whatnot, but yeah, it's very interesting. I highly recommend it. I've only read the first volume, like I said before, and then this one they re-released it recently, so it's actually like 12 years
That's a
later,
cool cover.
and it starts with Huey, and it's like, oh, 12 years later, and he's like traumatized from everything that they did back then, and he's kind of reliving some
Yeah.
of it. So they've only released 3 issues of the new one, so yeah.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the comics. I haven't. So now that's another one of those things like I want to read up on because once I start watching something, I get into something I want to read it. So I had no idea half this stuff. I knew there were some similarities, but a lot of differences in the comics to the show. But yeah, I had no idea.
Well, I believe they're doing some of it so different so that you can, read both of them or watch one and read the other and still be surprised.
That makes
And
sense.
the baby in the comics, Homelander's, love child, so to speak.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it has much less of a happy ending in the comic, and I'll just leave it at that. And I think that they would have never put that scene on TV, but
Hmm.
it's, having Butcher tell the scene in comic book is like, there's just some things they won't do. It's like Walking Dead. They weren't going to kill Judith in the way they killed her in the comics. So it's
Right.
very, I think, a bit of a similar situation.
Yeah,
So,
not everybody's Game of Thrones out here willing to just
ugh.
do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, that scene in Game of Thrones, if you're referring to what I'm thinking of, I turned it off and had to walk away for a while on Game of
Yeah,
Thrones.
I
Yeah.
was very like when I was watching that scene, my friend and I was he knew it was coming because I was far behind the curve and starting Game of Thrones. So I'm watching in his room because we were not roommates, but we just hang at each other's house all the time. We had our own apartments, but we were just drinking. I was like, oh man, it's getting pretty crazy. And then that scene came up, and I was just like, oh my God, what the fuck are you making me watch right now?
Yeah.
What is happening right here? And I wasn't ready for it. So I am glad to a degree because I'm not into all that crazy, crazy stuff like that. So I am glad that some differences, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I'm trying to be a little vague for anybody who is listening that, hasn't seen all of the boys.
All right. If you haven't seen season 1 at this point, I'm going to need you to turn it off or turn this off if you're listening and go catch up because I think we just got to go into some spoilers.
Okay.
Spoilers. This is your last chance to turn it off if you haven't seen season 1. This is about the boys season 1, so spoil away.
All right, well, okay, so when the Deep makes Annie give him a BJ and says if she really wants
Uh-huh.
the job. So in the comic, there was actually all three of them. It was Homelander, I think Black Noir, and was it A-Train? I don't think it was even the Deep. I can't remember now, but there was like three of them that made her do it, and there was never any consequences. But she called him out in the show, and so we're going to see more of those consequences in season 2.
Oh,
So I
hell
think
yeah.
that's pretty cool. And I think also that goes to some of it because the comic came out 15 years ago. And that doesn't seem like 2005 doesn't seem that long ago, but it really was in the grand scheme of things.
Those were the glory
Um,
days.
right. But, I think that with Me Too and everything, they more so focus on that. And it's a much more diverse cast, sex-wise and race-wise in the show compared to the comic. So they
Right.
did a couple gender swaps and race. I don't know if you want to call it a race swap, but they definitely made it more diverse in the show too, which I think is always a good thing. Like we
Yeah, I
talked last
agree.
week, it's more like a CW cast.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not like everybody just kind of the same blanket whitewashed. It's like, no, let's get some if it fits or it doesn't detract from the overall story, like, yeah,
right, and it
let's get
doesn't at
mixed in
all.
here.
If anything, like in the show, Homelander and Adventures in Babysitting woman, she's actually a male in the show, in the comic. And so making her a
Oh,
female in the show brought a creepy relationship to their dynamic. So
yeah,
that
it
was
really
always like
did. Like, and
so
he's all about her
confused.
breast milk and stuff, and I was like,
Like,
ugh.
I'm like, does he see her as his mom? Does he want to sleep
That's
with her?
exactly
I don't
like
know what's happening. But well, I wasn't a fan of the scene when he killed her because I was like, well, what about the baby now? And then Butcher just let the whole place blow up. I'm like, there's a baby upstairs. What's going on? Nobody cares about the baby
right.
upstairs. So I wasn't a fan
Well,
of
the
that.
trailer for season 2, doesn't he push his kid right off the roof? I mean, I guarantee his kid has superpowers, obviously, but he like throws him off the roof, and it's like, oh Jesus.
Don't birds do that? Just push the baby out of the
Yeah.
nest.
That's my dad did that, slap me around. No, I'm just kidding.
Just throw you into the ocean. You can swim now.
Just go ahead. I will say, with the Deep, I know he's supposed to be parallel to Aquaman, so the fact that they're just like straight shitting on him, as most comic books or people tend to with Aquaman, it's just like the guy who talks to fish never gets any love, and in the boys he shouldn't get any love because he's a terrible human being. But it's just so funny how they just bring all those stereotypes of all the people who what they think about Aquaman to his character. And then that scene where he's like talking to the dolphin and all like talking dirty with the dolphin, and next thing you know, just like slams through the window. And I was not expecting that at
No, that
all.
was terrible. As someone who loves the ocean, like I don't think the Deep in his heart is a terrible person. I think that he's trying to like keep up with Homelander and be a douche in that regard. But
Yeah,
honestly, if
he's
I could
trying to
have,
fit in big time.
yeah, not to excuse what he did by any means, but like honestly, if
No,
I could have
no,
any
no.
of their powers, I would want to be able to breathe under the ocean and be able to talk to dolphins. Hands down, I will
There's
take that
so
over.
much to explore in the ocean too. I
Yeah.
feel like you want some alone time. You're not going to get much more alone than like the middle of the ocean down deep. So
Well, there's
that's
a
a
lot
good.
to, lot going on down there, but
Well, yeah. I mean, there is a
alien
lot going on, but
sharks.
you can
But
just
yeah.
like swim down and explore places people will never go, and that's kind of awesome. I do agree, and that's why Aquaman's always been one of my favorite. Like, there's a lot more to him than just talk to fish. So
Yeah.
I see where you're
But
coming
yeah, they
from. Big
really
time.
do shit on him. And that's not cool.
He
Like,
sucks, but at the same time, it's not just cool because his powers
cool.
are actually kind of cool.
But yeah, if you're gonna be crime fighting, I guess in Manhattan or Gotham, it would be like, okay, your power, what are you doing here? What are you gonna contribute?
What
But
what does it say you say you do here?
right, and I will
I
say,
will
I don't
say,
know if a lot of people know, but The Boys is DC, but when they brought it to DC, DC is like, you're not touching our Superman, Batman world. So they had to agree that it would be completely different and have absolutely nothing to do with
right.
any of the precious DC comics, which is funny, especially since I just finished Doom Patrol because they're so far out there, but they're still connected. They still they'll make jokes of, oh, you're a real Bruce Wayne and whatnot. But this world is so far out there and so dirty and just so wrong that they're not allowed to touch the precious
It's so funny
Superman and Batman.
how DC really holds their characters so close to the chest. So like in the CW shows, they wouldn't let them. You could reference Bruce Wayne loosely, but they would never. You couldn't explicitly say Batman because they'd be like, "No, Batman is our movie character. You can't have this character on your show. You can't have that character on your show." And then they're just so finicky, or at least they were. Whereas now I feel like they've loosened up a lot. And they've mentioned on Titans, they talk about the Justice League, Superman, Wonder Woman, all that. The Doom Patrol, they mention a lot of that as well, and even
Justice League a lot, yeah.
Cyborgs. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I feel like they used to really, especially in 2005, when really all they had was Christian Bale's Batman because that had just come out. They were a lot more tighter to the chest with their characters than they are now.
Well, they probably realized like, oh shit, these shows are getting more success than these movies are.
And
So,
people love connected universes now.
mm-hmm.
They're finally catching on that people love the connectivity, or however you pronounce that word. You know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Connectivity of these universes, because that's what gets me excited.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, as the thing that, a lot of them, I guess, are doing successfully now too, is they're able to create these standalone movies and at the same time connect them all. So it's like you can bring somebody to one movie and they can enjoy it, but the person who's seen all the prequels enjoys it more. So I
Yeah,
think that that's something that they've really capitalized on with the MCU, and now you're seeing it's like I can watch Flash and not watch Supergirl, but enjoy the crossovers. So I think that's one thing that they're all realizing, oh, okay, we can do this, because I feel like sometimes it would be like, well, we can't expect these people to watch all of these things. Well, and that's okay.
right,
It's like some of us are going to watch all the MCU movies and some of us are and all the TV shows, and some of us aren't even going to know how many freaking TV shows there are.
right. Or like they're only here for like the big crossover events, which I still
Right.
haven't seen Crisis, but to make it to where it's kind of its standalone universe type thing, yeah, there's definitely a market for that, and it will draw. That's where you bring a lot of new people in, and then if they choose to stay after that, which a lot do and some don't, that's fine. But that's also you draw new viewers in, and then they go from there to catch up on all your catalog.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm really
I will
excited.
say the started like I had no idea anything about the boys when I first watched it, and so
Me neither.
that kind of opening scene where A Train just runs right through Huey's girlfriend, I was not, because I didn't even think that it was going to be anything like gory or anything like that.
Right.
I'm just sitting there. I kept hearing that, hey, the boys is good, the boys is good. So I was like, okay. We sat down one night and we'll watch the boys. Sure, we'll check it out. We'll see what the hype is. And then right as soon as that scene happened, I was like, holy shit! Like, what am I watching right now? And then it just progressed from there, and we just couldn't stop watching. It was one of those. It had you hooked, and you're just like,
It was
what is happening?
immediately. That
Yeah,
scene is directly in the
it
comic.
is. Oh man.
Yeah.
See, now I'm gonna have to pick up the comics now, I think, and kind of get into it more because I love comparing and contrasting and all that, and knowing like, oh, this is from the comic. Those small little callbacks that you get in the Marvel and DC universes that
Hmm.
you're just, oh, this is in the comics. This is where this is from, and your
Right.
friends are looking at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
That's stuff I'm into.
Well, even a comment when Huey, because I had put on the first episode the other night, I was trying to get my husband into it. And when he referenced, oh, do you have a dog? I was like, hey, that's relevant. But yeah, I mean, I had watched it before reading the comics, and I didn't pick up on that at all. But yeah,
Yeah.
for me, watching The Boys, you're just like, oh, it's another superhero show. Oh, okay, it's more of the drama with the superheroes. But I didn't realize The Boys was not the superheroes until I was a few episodes in. And I was like, oh, that's because he's like, oh, we got to get the boys back together or something like that. And it's not even just the boys. There's the female, who the
Yeah.
female, the Asian girl whose name is just the female. She's in it in the beginning in the comic, so she's actually
Mhm.
already one of them. They don't find her like they do in the show. Um,
Oh.
so yeah, so Huey is the new add-on, and so you know how Huey intentionally kills Translucent in the show.
Yeah.
um, his first kill in the comic is actually a teenage superhero, because he was given Compound V to like they give themselves Compound V to fight the superheroes, and he went to go punch him and punched all the way through him.
Holy shit.
So it was his first kill in the comic was an accident.
I hope they kind of bring that in because now they know about Compound V. I kind of hope they start to introduce that a little bit because that would be fun, I think. There's potential there. But at the same time, I understand if they don't because they're all about ordinary people. How do they take on these soups and everything? And yeah, they
Right.
have Starlights kind of joining them now, things like that. But I'd like to see that. I just like superheroes and beating the shit out of each other and powers and all that stuff. So that's just my selfish. Let's get this going.
Well, that's the thing in the comics. It's like, well, how do you fight these superheroes if you have no powers? And so for them, they just give themselves the compound V and it's no big deal. But in the show, it's like that's how it started was A-Train was on the compound V and he couldn't stop running. Whereas in the comic, he was just running and it just happened. But
Yeah.
he didn't even attempt to apologize in the comics. Whereas in the show, it's the Vout company or Vought company and it's all PR.
Yeah. And
So
I think that is probably the most intriguing thing because you know damn well if superheroes are real, that is exactly how the government and everyone would act. 100%. Our government would be trying to use them to go fight wars and things like that. And without a question, it nails that element of it. It's like if there were superheroes that were real, this is 100% how it would be.
well, the CIA, of course, is like skeptical of them, and that's why they hire Butcher to keep an eye on them. Whereas in the show, I guess they're skeptical of them because they still want them to go through certain. It's almost like the Sokovia Accords. They want them to have permission before they
Yeah.
go and do things. And then you have that airplane scene, and of course, I think that's going to be a big premise of season two. Is like, well, God made us this way so that we could save you guys. Because that's another thing Homelander kind of says is like, well, God made us this way to protect you guys. Whereas in the comic,
Yeah.
everybody knows they're on Compound V. So I think that's going to be a big push is trying to get the government to just let them do whatever the hell they want. But the plane scene, the plane scene where they couldn't save anybody, and so instead
Yep.
of saving one little girl, they just let the plane crash. So they did it in the comics. I haven't read that part yet, but I read about it. So they actually had that scene take place in the comics on 9/11. And so I thought
Oh
that
God.
was, yeah, so they tie in. I'm looking forward to reading that because that seems very ballsy to kind of do that where they
Oh
couldn't save
yeah,
one of the
absolutely.
hijacked planes. Yeah. So I'm interested to see when that happens and how that goes about because, I mean, I don't think they would do that in the show.
Yeah. There's no way. We're not to that point yet where you can start making stuff like that, I feel. But for
I
the
mean, this
comic book to
comic's
do
from
that, that's
'05.
well,
I mean,
yeah, I
yeah,
feel
it was
like
still
a
pretty
comic
new.
was comics you can get away with it more so than like a
Yeah.
mainstream show. So a mainstream show to do that, oh man, you especially in today's climate, geez, it would just
No.
be bad news. And so I'm really interested to see what you think or how that plays out myself because that is really, really ballsy.
Yeah. Well, I watched a little thing that was like some of the differences just to see if there was anything I didn't miss. And honestly, that was the only thing that I thought was worth mentioning that I haven't gotten to yet. Because yeah, volume one's like it's probably the first year of the comics,
Hmm.
and so I don't think there's too many before, especially because they said they took a 12-year hiatus. So I think the comic was only around for a few years.
Yeah, I don't think it was very long. So I'm interested to check it out, and I'm even more. I can't wait for season two to drop. And I know that we are possibly talking about. There's a slight chance you'll see us maybe do like a live reaction to the first few episodes, potentially kind of discuss about it because our co-hosts on Hops News, Lucky and Jay Brew, are big into the show. They love the show, and that's something they really want to talk about. So we might do a quick little discussion live about what we felt about the first few episodes and where we think it's going.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be fun. Well, the first and they're doing the first three, so I mean, obviously, are they? Do you know what time they're releasing it on Friday?
Probably like typically 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is the
So I
usual
can
release
wake up
time
and watch them all.
because obviously you have to wait till midnight across the country. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be 3 a.m. So you can watch it during the day. I probably won't watch it until that evening,
Yeah,
maybe.
well, yeah, it's not a show you can put on when your kids are awake.
Well, I mean, even if I could always, my wife has that day off, so if I took that day off, I'm sure we can watch it together. But I have to work, so it's one of those wait till the kids go to sleep, then watch. So we'll see. I can't wait. I'm like, go to bed, go to bed, go to bed, so I can just watch this already.
Yeah. See, it says in a more intense, more desperate season two of The Boys, Butcher, Huey, and the team reel from their losses in season one. On the run from the law, they struggle to fight back against the superheroes.
Well, yeah,
As
Butcher
Vout,
got his ass kicked.
yeah, as Vout, the company that manages the heroes, cashes in on the panic over the threat of supervillains, and a new hero, Stormfront, shakes up the company and challenges an already unstable Homelander. Yeah, Homelander's batshit crazy.
Yeah. And I heard Stormfront's actually pretty hardcore too. I've heard a spoiler about one of the comics about with Stormfront, so I wonder if they're gonna do it in the show at all. But I heard she's kind of hardcore.
Who? She looks so familiar. What is she from? I should have looked that up.
Um, I don't know actually. I think she's in a good amount of stuff, possibly.
It's probably one of those you look up and you're like, oh, she's in this, that, da, 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 da. Da.
Yeah, you see them, you're just like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I think a big thing with, like we see it in The Flash, where it's like, they train and he's got to run faster and he's got to learn how to do this and he's intelligent and has superpowers. Whereas in The Boys, a lot of the superheroes they seem to spend more time on managing their brand and all their
yeah.
world-saving things are scripted. So I think that's the advantage that The Boys have in the TV show is just sheer intelligence and planning compared to these
Hmm.
dumbasses.
Use kind of the smarts. Apparently she was in Wolf on Wall Street and then just a bunch of other shows. I don't recognize watching any of these shows or movies that she was in other than Wolf on Wall Street, and I can't for the life of me remember her in that. So, yeah, I guess The Boys is kind of the one thing she'll be known for. Um, yeah, I've never. She was a voice in American Dad, so obviously you're not going to see her face.
Right.
Uh, Janet in Wolf on Wall Street, I can't remember that movie. I've seen it a few times, but can't remember who's who outside of, the main cast. She played in Will and Grace, the 2019 season. The Newsroom.
That's
To be honest, I
uh,
didn't know Will and Grace came back, but yeah, the
yeah, it's
Newsroom.
pretty funny actually. They did a short season that was hilarious.
Huh. I remember my mom used to watch that when like I was a kid, and I vaguely remember that show growing up.
Oh, I know what she was in. She's in that one show, You're the Worst, but a friend of ours actually wrote a movie and she starred in it, or she directed the movie. That's what it is.
What?
Yeah, our friend Teresa directed the movie. That's what it was. Yay! I love when I finally put that
That's
together.
awesome.
Person looks familiar. Yeah, the movie. She co-starred with Ted from How I Met Your Mother.
I love him. Great dude. Really good musician too.
You're
That's
the
like that How I Met Your Mother is like my version of Friends. It's what I imagine people who are like really cognitive in the 90s.
I'm trying to find the movie that she was Social
Oh God.
Animals. That was in it, the movie
Huh.
Social Animals.
Never heard.
It was a small little like indie film. It never even like was in theaters. I think we bought it on Amazon or maybe Netflix. I don't remember. But yeah, it was fun. It was a cute movie. I recommend it.
I'll
One of
check
those
it out.
movies
I'll
you can
check it
just
out.
like unplug and watch. But that's it now.
Yeah.
And I always thought she looked like the doctor. She looks a little bit like Jodie Whittaker, I think.
Oh, yeah, I was getting that too, which I'm hoping my internet decides to come back up so I can actually watch some Doctor Who because I'm behind on my Doctor Who and I've just really been in like it's been a really shitty week. And so for some reason I've just want to sit on the couch and watch Doctor Who because it makes me just not have to think and feel really good about life.
Well, Doctor Who though, they made it harder to watch this season. You have to like it used to be very accessible on.
Amazon Prime it used to be on Prime, right?
Yeah, it used to be on Prime. I think some of the older ones still are, but I got HBO Max to watch it, and then I'm like, oh shit, the new season's not on here. I've seen all
Yeah,
these.
I've got BBC America, but I don't ever catch it on there. They used to play, Doctor Who on
all
repeat
the
on
time.
BBC,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen it lately. So, yeah, it is harder to watch, and you have to like really search for it and everything like that. So I've just been really looking forward to watching Doctor Who. That's all I want to do right now.
Yeah. Oh, we skipped over the watching and reading
Oh,
section.
yes.
We got
Like I said, I watched Bill and Ted Face the Music.
oh, that's right.
Great movie. God damn. It really isn't. I'm overhyping it, but something about it just really made me just the, there's a big spoiler at the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but it just captured what we need in the year 2020 in the current political climate that I was like, man, the spirit of the movie and the characters that Keanu Reeves and Alex Winters, they acted. You couldn't tell a difference other than looking older from how they were in the original Bill and Ted's, and then the girls they got to actually played them fantastically too. Like holy shit, these are their daughters, and the actings were all really great and the small callbacks. So that's the big thing that I've watched, and I also Carrie picked me up um, the Three Jokers, which is a new comic book that just came out. Apparently, there's three Jokers. I'm not sure. I haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited to read that here this weekend.
Yeah, my comic book shop was pimping that out big time. Very excited.
Apparently, it's good. So I'll
So
probably read it tomorrow and talk about it next episode.
I do have a question though for Bill and Ted. Are they traveling around in a phone booth?
They are still in the OG phone booth, whereas
Nice.
there's other time travelers in it that are traveling in like the more updated version. But George Carlin actually makes a brief appearance. I'll spoil that a little bit. You get a little cameo. Obviously, it's rehashed footage from the original, but it's very brief, and they still travel in the original phone booth. So you get that same vibe, same spirit, and I can't recommend that one enough. If people want to watch something that they just want to like really feel good about again, and I would watch Bill and Ted.
No, I had a lot of friends watch it. I mentioned checking it out, so we might check it out maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. We were just kind of, refreshing the boys. Yeah, I think season 2 is going to be all about, what's Homelander doing with his kid? How's Butcher going to get out of this one? And the superheroes want full control and no government oversight. So,
What will they do next?
Yeah, and in the trailer you saw a scene where Annie, and you even mentioned it too, Annie Starlight was with the boys. So I'm wondering if she's going to do some undercover work, because in the if you go to the boys as well, you see a picture of the 7 and she's one of the 7. So I'm wondering if she's going to be going back and forth and
Definitely. You always got to have that suspense build. So that's what I think. And yeah, I'm excited. Season 2 is coming out, and I can't wait to talk about what we've seen so far. So
yeah.
other than that, yeah. Catch us on Wednesdays. We drop a new episode every Wednesday. So head to our youtube.com/hops news, where you can find that and our hoppy hours, and also shout out to Feeling Lucky Pod. You can catch us on Instagram at Hops Geek News, and yeah, follow us, like us, subscribe, smash the subscribe button, yo, as all the kids say.
I hate that.
I do too. I feel like such a shill when I say it, but at the same time, it's like
It's
I kind of have to,
cringeworthy, but
because that's how we
necessary.
grow. If you guys could please just give us a listen, tell your friends,
Right.
tell everybody you know, and hit that button that would make it so you routinely follow us. That would be most excellent, my dudes.
Like us, love us. Yeah.
So yeah, and that is for that. We will catch you next time.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This has been a Hops News production. You can find Hops News on all your favorite podcasts and social media platforms at Hops News. Cheers.